I'd gotten into some sexual things that were not appropriate. They were appropriate to me. I didn't see anything wrong with them. But I very quickly found out that I was really good at being really bad. And eventually there was a knock on my door, and it was two detectives, and they said, "We have a warrant for your arrest." In this one room, the prison they had me in one cell, up under the bed and on all the walls was just elaborate X-rated pictures, hand-drawn. So when I would lay down and look up at my bunk, there was this picture drawn there, and I would try not to look at it. I would lay on my side, I'd lay on my back or my stomach. And one morning, as I rolled over and looked up. There was just the way the light was hitting it. Apparently, somebody at some point decided, within all of the curves and the things, they had scratched in John 3:16, and I laid there and all of a sudden that whole picture disappeared, and I said, God, you're right. I walked away. I need to get rid of this God and go back to you. And from that point, I could see God working daily. My wife would call me and say, "How are you doing being all alone?" I says, I am in the Word. I started reading my Bible. I had my King James, and she sent me a Message Bible that I wanted. And I would sit at night and I would read. And I probably read in that year and a half, probably 7-8 times I read through the Bible. I'd read it out of one and I'd read it out of the other. And that's all I did. I'd sit in my cell and I'd get my 15 minutes for a shower. And the days they just flew by. And when I got out then, and then as I said, found new persons. And on Memorial Day of 2021, I walked into the front door of New Persons. I told my wife, I said, "There's only one thing I want you to pack. Whatever you have in clothes, I want my guitar." And as we were walking in the house, Chuck had come out to help me carry stuff in. And as I got up to the porch, he goes, "Oh, you play a guitar." "So do I." And he says, "We'll have to get together and play." And I didn't think anything of it. The next day, I went out with my wife and got some stuff to come back. And Chuck said, I've got some questions and I got some paperwork to fill out. But he says, "Before we do that, why don't you go get your guitar?" and we sat for about an hour and just played and stuff. So the transition became really easy. I have health issues. I didn't qualify for work between age and health issues. So I would walk a lot, but I needed the friendship of the house. But their outreach and friendship and ministry to me just made the transition an easy thing to do, and it helped my wife a lot, for her to know and to become friends eventually with Chuck and his wife and stuff. That just helped her want to be back together with me. And we now live 2 blocks up the street here, block and a half, in an apartment. And again, I can see God just orchestrating, because if I'd have gone someplace else, I might have had a bigger bedroom in my own kitchen, but I would not have had what I needed at the time, and God knew that. The house went to bat for me, and that meant a lot. A lot to me, but it also meant a lot to my wife and our relationship. And now I go down there a couple times a month and do a Bible study for them. But it was the relationship with the house that helped my marriage get back on track, on solid ground. Probably the biggest thing that God is doing in my life right now is I'm seeing reconciliation within my family. I had two grandchildren who were older, but when I got arrested, they were hurt. They didn't understand. They couldn't figure it out, and so it became a little bit harder for them. And so reconciliation within my family, right now that's my key. I've said this to one of the prison psychiatrists who I talked to, who was not a Christian, but was talking to him, and he said, what would you like to accomplish when you get out? And I said, if I could go to a coliseum someplace with 100,000 people, and I could share my whole unedited story, and I says, if one person came up at the end and say, thank you, you made a difference in my life, I'm changing my entire life because I know I'm headed the same place you were, I would be happy. I would be satisfied if only one out of 100,000 just came and said, you spoke to me.